There are feelings that don't belong to you. You know the ones. You walk into a room, and something shifts inside your chest before a single word has been spoken. You sit next to a stranger and feel a sadness you cannot explain. You wake up in the middle of the night carrying a weight that was not there when you fell asleep. And you look around your life and think, where is this coming from? Nothing happened. Nothing changed. Why do I feel like this? Most people would call that anxiety. Carl Jung would call it something far more specific and far more important. He would call it the collective unconscious reaching you. And once you understand what that actually means, not the textbook version, not the clinical version, but the real lived experience of what it means to be someone who can feel what the collective is feeling, you will never again wonder why you absorb things that were never yours to carry. Stay with me, because what Jung discovered about the invisible world beneath human consciousness is going to explain something about you that you have never been able to put into words. Jung spent years asking one question that no one else in his field was willing to take seriously. Why do complete strangers dream the same dreams? Why do cultures that have never had contact with each other tell the same stories? Why do children who have never been taught certain fears develop them anyway? Why do some people like you, walk into rooms and immediately feel what everyone in that room is feeling without being told a single thing? His colleagues thought he was losing his mind, but Jung kept going. And what he found beneath the surface of individual human consciousness was something so vast, so ancient, so deeply woven into the fabric of what we are, that it changed everything he thought he knew about the human soul. He called it the collective unconscious. Here is what it actually is. Beneath your personal unconscious, beneath your memories, your wounds, your individual history, there is another layer, a layer that does not belong to you personally, a layer that belongs to all of us. Every human being who has ever lived, every fear that has ever gripped a human heart, every longing that has ever kept a human being awake at night, every grief, every joy, every hunger for something that cannot quite be named. Jung discovered that all of it lives somewhere, not in any individual mind, but in a shared psychic field that every human being is connected to whether they know it or not. He called the contents of this field archetypes, patterns so ancient and so fundamental that they exist in every culture, every language, every era of human history. The hero, the shadow, the great mother, the wise old man, the child, the trickster. These are not just characters in stories. Jung discovered they are living structures inside the human psyche, and some people with nervous systems that were never quite able to build the walls that keep that field out, feel them all the time. You are probably one of those people. Think about the last time you walked into a room and felt something shift. Not something visible, not something anyone said, just a change in the air, a heaviness, a tension, something that your body registered before your mind had any language for it. That was not imagination. That was your nervous system doing something that most people's nervous systems have learned to screen out, picking up the signal. Jung discovered that the collective unconscious is not static. It moves. It responds. When something significant is happening in the world, when fear is spreading, when grief is accumulating, when something ancient in the human story is being activated, the field changes. And the people who are most connected to that field feel it first, not as information, as sensation, as that inexplicable heaviness, that nameless dread, that sadness without a source. You are not broken for feeling things that have no obvious cause. You are wired differently, and Jung spent his entire career trying to tell the world that the people wired differently are not the ones who need to be fixed. They are the ones carrying something the rest of the world has not yet learned to feel. But here is where it gets personal. And this is the part that most people who talk about the collective unconscious never say out loud. Being connected to something that vast is beautiful in theory. In practice, it is exhausting, because the collective unconscious does not come labeled. When it reaches you, it does not announce itself. It does not say, "This sadness is not yours." You are simply picking up a signal from the shared field of human experience. This anxiety belongs to the collective right now, not to your individual life. This grief is ancient. It has been carried by human beings for 10,000 years, and it is moving through you the way weather moves through an open field. It just arrives. And because it arrives without a label, You do the only thing that makes sense. You assume it is yours. You go looking for reasons inside your own life. You examine your relationships, your choices, your failures. You try to find the source. You try to fix it. You carry it the way you carry everything, personally, deeply, completely. And you wonder why you're always so tired. Jung watched this happen over and over in the people who came to him. Extraordinary people. People of unusual depth and sensitivity. People who felt the world in a way that others could not quite understand. And they were exhausted. Not from their own lives specifically, from something larger, from something they had been carrying without knowing what it was, or why they were the ones carrying it. He said that the tragedy was not the sensitivity itself. The tragedy was that nobody had ever told them the difference between their own pain and the pain they were absorbing from the field. Nobody had ever said to them, "You are not just one person feeling one life. You are a receiver, and you have been receiving without a filter for as long as you can remember." This changes everything about how you understand your own emotional life. Think about the times in your life when you felt something huge and could not explain where it came from. A grief that arrived without a loss. A joy that felt like it belonged to more than just you. A sudden overwhelming sense of connection to something larger than your individual life. Those moments were not accidents. They were not symptoms of anxiety or depression or being too much. They were contact with the collective unconscious. They were moments when the wall between your individual psyche and the shared field of human experience became thin enough to feel through. And Jung said those moments, as disorienting as they can be, are among the most psychologically significant experiences a human being can have. Because they are reminders that you are not just this individual life in this individual body, in this individual moment. You are connected to something ancient, something that has been here far longer than you, and will be here far after you. And that connection, once you understand it instead of fear it, is not a burden. It is the source of everything that makes you capable of the depth, the compassion, the inexplicable understanding of other people that has always been your most essential quality. But Jung also said something that I need you to hear very clearly. Connection without boundaries is not a gift, it is a wound. The person who receives every signal from the collective unconscious without knowing how to separate what is theirs from what is not, that person does not become more evolved. They become overwhelmed. They become the person who is always feeling something without knowing what it is. The person who absorbs other people's darkness without realizing that is what they are doing. The person who takes on collective grief as personal failure, who mistakes the world's anxiety for their own, who carries the weight of a shared field as if it were the weight of their individual choices. Jung said that the work, the actual psychological work, for someone like this is not to feel less. It is to learn to feel with awareness, to stand in the field and know that you are standing in a field, to receive the signal and know that it is a signal, to feel the collective and know that the collective is not you. Here is what that actually looks like in your daily life. The next time you feel something that does not have an obvious source, a sadness, a heaviness, an anxiety that appeared without a cause you can name, before you go looking for reasons inside your own life, try something different. Ask a different question. Not why am I feeling this, but is this mine? Just that question. Sit with it honestly, because sometimes the answer will be yes. Sometimes it will be a feeling that belongs to your actual life and needs to be addressed. But sometimes, more often than you might expect, the answer will be something quieter. Something that sounds like this came from somewhere else. And in that recognition, something extraordinary happens. The feeling does not necessarily disappear, but it stops feeling like your fault. It stops feeling like evidence of something wrong with you. It becomes what it always actually was. Information. Signal. The collective unconscious doing what it has always done. Reaching toward the people who are still open enough to receive it. Jung believed that the people most connected to the collective unconscious carry a specific responsibility. Not to absorb it endlessly, not to sacrifice their own well-being on the altar of collective feeling, but to be conscious, to be the people who can feel what the world is feeling and bring that feeling into awareness, to be the ones who name what is unnamed, who hold space for what is unprocessed, who can sit with the darkness of the collective without being destroyed by it, because they understand what it is and where it comes from. He called this the role of the wounded healer operating at the collective level, and he believed it was one of the most important functions a human being could serve. Not despite their sensitivity, because of it. So the next time the feeling arrives without a name, the next time you carry something you cannot explain, the next time you absorb what a room is feeling before a single word has been spoken, do not call it a flaw. Do not call it anxiety. Do not go looking for something wrong with your life to explain what is happening in your soul. Instead, do what Jung spent his entire career teaching. Get curious. Ask what the field is carrying right now. Ask what the collective is processing. Ask what ancient human experience is moving through you at this specific moment. And then, and this is the most important part, remember that you are the one feeling it, not the one responsible for fixing it. You are the receiver, not the solution. And there is an enormous difference between those two things. One leads to exhaustion. The other leads to something Jung believed was the deepest form of human freedom. Feeling everything fully, and knowing exactly what is yours. The feelings that arrived without a reason were never without a reason. They were just bigger than your individual life. And you were always built to hold things that were bigger than you. You just needed someone to tell you that holding them was not the same as owning them.